Well, welcome back to our study of Titus. We're in chapter 2. We've written it out, as you can see, in what we call the structured outline or structured diagram format. And we can quickly see, just glancing at it, that here's one subject and then here's another. So we only have really two subjects that we're going to be talking about in this particular section. If you were making a sermon, these would be your two main topics, and you just develop them as you were to go through a study. You can see from the beginning, he says, but as for you, he just changes the subject. But is what they call an adversive conjunction. So this is the opposite of what has been going on before. But as for you, and he's, of course, making reference to Titus. And he says, now speak. Now notice I've started including some code after each of the verbs. And if they're an imperative, I use to give the significance. And the two curly cues, like a flowing river, means something that's to be ongoing. This means that he is to be continually or habitually speaking the things that he's now going to describe, particularly those things which refer to these things which are proper for sound doctrine. Proper has the idea of meaning something that's fitting sound doctrine. So we don't want anything that's contrary to doctrine or something that's not going to be in accordance with what we're going to describe here as sound doctrine. But sexual immorality and all impurity and covetousness must not even be named among you, as is proper among the saints. So there you have the same concept where we're to live as we teach. All of our life is to be fitting together. It's to be consistent. Power of a testimony is a consistent life. Sound simply means healthy, where we get the word hygiene. So here is a healthy doctrine, something that this is just teaching. When we see doctrine, don't get the idea of systematic, just get the idea that this is the teaching of the Scriptures and not necessarily a particular system of theology. We can see from some of the other passages that deal with the issue on the sound doctrine, it says there will be a time when people will not tolerate sound teaching, instead follow their own desires, and they'll accumulate teachers for themselves because they have an insatiable curiosity to hear new things, and the new things as opposed to following what the apostles gave us in the first century. They always want something more. The sound or healthy doctrine is the kind that's going to create a lifestyle that is reasonable and of a good reputation that is admirable. But he's going to begin in this narrative with the older men, then to go to the elder women, and then to the younger women and the younger men, to develop the integration of the entire church body and how they are to be models for each other and how to be mentors of each other. But to do that, the older men, particularly in the beginning, must be the model. First description here, of course, is the older men. Usually refers to men somewhere in the age of 50 to 60 years of age, beyond, as in the case with older women, beyond the childbearing and child-rearing age for their ministry among other people. And the first step is that they are to be sober. Sober has the idea of, obviously, not drunk, but it also has the idea of being serious. And this is primarily, as we see here, to be sober, be vigilant. That's the parallel. Because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. This is someone who is serious and responsible. And then he's to be reverent, a person who is worshipful, dignified, and good reputation, therefore good model. Then it's to be temperate. Temperate has to do with self-control. Everyone who competes for the prize is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a perishable crown, but we an imperishable crown. And so temperate is something that has to do as an athlete is doing training for his exhibition of his athleticism. Then likewise the Christian life is to be taken on the same kind of temperate or self-control for the purpose of living out the Christian life. And he's to be sound. Again, that's the same word here for healthy. Healthy in faith has the idea that sound is likewise not just healthy but free from error in regards to his faith. He is convinced of God's trustworthiness. So he has no problem being able to trust God because he knows he's trustworthy and he's sound in that trust. Likewise, he's sound in love, which means his commitment to others and to meeting their needs. The word patience has to do with endurance, and he's the one who has exemplified what it means to go through heartache and discouragement and disappointments and still remain faithful. So that's kind of the basic attitudes. Many of these are very similar to those requirements of the pastor. In fact, most all of these are likewise. And so the basic concept here is that they are to be the example. And modeling these characteristics that are enumerated right here, what a difference is going to be when they're compared to the description given to the typical Cretans in chapter 1 and verse 12 as being liars, evil beasts, and lazy gluttons. These men will stand out in stark contrast to the typical culture of their day and make a huge impact for the gospel.